Thank you, Chair, and thank you all for your presentations. And we hear them time and time again. And I suppose we can't hear them often enough, but very little happens in terms of the implementation. So it must be, it's frustrating from our point of view, so it must be frustrating from your point of view when you see so little moving, and yet you present all of the solutions here today. We don't need enormous reports or pilot projects, and like everybody else, I'm absolutely tired of pilot projects. It's not just a case of me being tired of them. It's the money that we waste when we don't use what we learn from the pilot projects, when there's no inbuilt evaluation and then streamlining of those projects. Then it really, really is frustrating. I've been involved in some of them myself, indeed, around mental health and bullying and other topics as well. And I really think that we need to think long and hard. And I know it's an attractive proposition if somebody gets a piece of money to do a pilot project, to do it. But in some way, I wonder, are we then all colluding in keeping things where they are by getting involved in that? And they were some of the ethical questions, even for myself, around working in community development. How much were we then colluding into that system? I want to go to you, Sarah, first, just in terms of, obviously the solution is the core funding. The core funding has to be fixed in third level education. It also speaks to, in terms of what Frank was saying, in terms of the staffing as well. But without the core multi-annual funding, we're just not going to fix this problem. There's no skirting around it. And while it might be politically expedient to announce one pilot project after another, or one project after another, and you get the headlines for a couple of days and then off you go on your merry way. If we don't fix what's under the bonnet, then we're not going to fix this at all. And where you say standing room only and waiting clinics, like how many of those people standing there just couldn't wait or didn't wait to get the supports and the services that they need? We're dealing with people's lives here, as all of you know as well. I just want to talk in terms of the funding. We know, as you said, that the total funding for the on-campus mental health supports was 5 million in 2020 and 2021, and again in 2021 and 22. So for the last 3 years, the mental health budget has stayed the same. However, 3 million is announced each year as additional funding. There's figures being played around with here as well, which is nonsense. And it really needs to be called out. And I think also it needs, we're a cross-party committee here. And mental health is more, and mental health for young people is more serious than any political party on its own. And we need to call it out, whether within our own parties or whatever, to stop this happening. So I suppose my question to you is, while the ability to announce the funding each year as if it's new money is politically beneficial, as I said, how disruptive is it in terms of providing a proper service on campus when you can't plan properly and you just don't have the resources there on year on basis?
Thank you very much for your question. It's exceedingly disruptive. We found, so the money that was provided last year for COVID-related additional supports actually went unspent in a number of colleges for one of two reasons. Firstly, because it was a one-time piece of money, only a year's contract could be offered, and despite the fact that we do have a dearth of people who can apply for these jobs, that's not a very attractive job posting. It's very hard to fill a position like that. Then on top of that, a lot of campuses don't have the space to ad hoc hire 2 or 3 more counsellors for a year to have them go off again. So that was a situation that we were faced with last year. That campus that I referred to, where there was standing room only in the waiting list, the head of counselling there told me they have two sessional staff that they don't know that whether they can keep on beyond the end of November or not. And if that happens, that's, they've 5 staff, I think it is, so that's almost half their staff gone. that has an obvious knock-on impact, not just on the number of students that can be seen, but then on the rollout of things such as the National Suicide Prevention Framework, because that doesn't have a specific staff member allocated for the rollout of that, so that falls onto staff such as counselling staff who have to juggle, you know, their session loads and the rollout of multiple frameworks at this stage. So to sum up,
so the provision in itself almost creates an anxiety. Well, it creates an anxiety there. But yet we've seen, and I just wanted to just ask you briefly, and we've so little time here, in terms then of the challenges of student accommodation and the financial pressures, the impact that you're seeing that they're having on mental health, how would you describe that?
I mean, the college experience for many students is it's a melting pot for mental health issues. You know, it's that pivotal time of life. So there's a number of risk factors that exist for every student. When you add in the financial pressures where students are having to get maybe multiple jobs, accommodation issues where you're seeing students having to commute ridiculous amounts of time or in fact register as homeless, as some students are, that has an untold amount of additional pressure on their own mental health, and then on mental health services which are already overstretched. And then we also see that students are reluctant to seek that help because they know the waiting lists are so bad. They're like, well, I was able to stand up out of my bed this morning, so therefore there's somebody worse off that needs that slot, so I won't seek the help myself.
Okay.
Okay.